There is a date you start a job and there's a guaranteed date that you're going to leave, right? And on that date, you will either jump or you get pushed. It will happen at some time in the future. Guaranteed, 100%, you're gonna leave that job. Why are you not maxing out everything you can get from your employer? Guys, welcome back to this mini-series on things I wish I knew when I was 20. Today we're going to be looking at the things I wish I knew about making a career choice when I was 20. If you've not seen other videos in this mini-series, you should definitely check them out, okay? We've done one on investing, which funny enough, I actually published in the Financial Times, which proved to be a bit of a hit. So feel free to check that out. I've done one on buying a house. I've done one on making money. I've done one on pensions. I've done one on a bunch of different topics. I'm going to link to them below for you to head over and check them out. But today though, I wanted to look at careers. I'm still having my career. I'm still like on a career trajectory. But when I look back, there's so many things that I wish I knew. Things I would say to my 20-year-old self, which I hope will help you make better career decisions. If you're loving the vibes from this particular video or from this series, hit the like button. Let me know, give me a signal so that I can make more videos on this particular series if you are loving and enjoying them. For those who are new to our channel, my name is Ken of the Humble Penny and Financial Joy Academy. What we do on this channel is give you the tips, the insights, practical hacks to help you take control of your finances, grow your money, and ultimately work towards a dream life of financial independence and money joy. Okay? All right. Let's dive in. I'm going to be keeping it super real, okay, on this one. And I'm going to be really frank, right, because careers are important. And I want to start off by saying that I think work is absolutely important, okay? We're all going to be working for a very, very long time, you know. We're all living longer, which means we're going to be working for much longer, okay? So I'm definitely pro-work. I enjoy working, but I love to choose what kind of work I do, okay, which I'm hoping will speak to a lot of my thoughts on careers today. All right, so the first thing I wish I knew when I was 20 was that you should think of your career in 5-year cycles. That's right. Okay, so for those who don't know, my background is in finance. I trained as a chartered accountant. I'm still a chartered accountant, paying my fees every year and all those things you have to do. But I remember when I started my whole journey, you know, went to uni and everything and did my accountancy and economics degree and carried on, obviously did training as a chartered accountant, then carried on, you know, wanted this career in accounting. I was doing well. I was loving all my life as an accountant, doing my V lookups in Excel, my H lookups and all my colored cells, all my financial modeling, and all that stuff was great. But that life feels like such a distant life from where I am today. Okay, everything I've been doing here at the Humble Penny for 4 years so far, literally everything we've done so far began in the year 2017 up until now. And I can tell you, I never ever thought that I would one day be doing what I'm doing today. You know, because you often start off your career with this whole idea like, yeah, I'm going to become this one person, I'm going to become an accountant or a lawyer or whatever, or a nurse, right? You start off with this one core idea for who you are to become. You probably might even have watched your parents. Your parents might have had one job or one particular type of career all their lives, and that defined their core identity. Really and truly, the reality of the world we live in today is that there is no one job that will keep you happy for the rest of your life. It doesn't exist. What will happen in reality, if you're smart anyway, is that you realize that every 5 years, or probably every 5 to 10 years, you will probably end up in a totally different career. And there's something really comforting about that, because a lot of the worry you have, a lot of the concerns you have in your current career will actually stop being so much of a heavy burden potentially. Because you might then think, well, actually, do you know what? In 5 to 10 years, I know for certain, just as I know right now, that I will most likely be doing something else entirely. Okay? So for those who don't know what portfolio career is, portfolio career essentially means that over your working life, over your career, you will be someone who does various different jobs. Okay? So for, you know, this first 5 years you might be doing something else, next 5 to 10 years you might be doing something else, and so on. And it will keep changing over time as your interests change, as your skill sets change, as your priorities in life change. I've got an article that I actually found, funny enough, this is from Forbes, where they actually give us a bit of a definition. I'll put this up on the screen for us to see. Okay, they start off by saying that American workers today want more control over how and why they work. So Americans, British, they're all really wanting the same things. And then it says, a portfolio career gives them that and more. Portfolio career is a working style where you combine multiple streams of income, often creating a mix of full-time and part-time employment, freelancing or working as a consultant, developing your own product or service, and freelance writing. Then it says the biggest theme around a portfolio career is that of self-management. You decide when you work, whom you work with, and how much you are worth. For me, this is one of the biggest epiphanies when it comes to thinking about careers. And this is one thing that I wish I knew when I was 20, because it would have really changed the way in which I saw my career going forward. And I'm actually pretty happy that I discovered this, and I've discovered this so far on my journey and living that reality of a portfolio career. Whereas I've got friends right this very moment who are still in this denial. They still think they've got this one job. They still think they've got this one career. And they're kind of sitting there almost like a dinosaur watching everything else carry on and accelerate past them as the world changes around them. Please don't be one of those people, okay? The reality of it is, over time, probably in the next 5 years, you will be doing something radically different to what you are doing today. And the quicker you can accept it and embrace it and embrace change around you and move with the times, the better when it comes to happiness with your work, achieving your goals, and doing the sort of work that you want to do with your time. All right, so the second thing I wish I knew when I was 20 was that, and this is going to sound really weird, I'm going to call a spade, is that I wish I knew that you should focus on making as much money as you can as early as you can in your career. Now, let me explain what I mean. So there's this assumption, that you're in your career, you're in your 20s, now your 30s, you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s. Your income, as time passes, your income keeps rising. It's a lie. It doesn't really happen like that. What really happens is that, this is going to sound wrong, but in the many cases I've seen, is that what happens is that there is a peak that happens somewhere, okay? That straight line doesn't carry on the older you get, okay? You do actually have almost a finite lifetime income you're going to earn. There is a number somewhere, okay? And in my personal experience, the more you are able to earn as much as you can in your youth, in your 20s, your 30s, even in your 40s, the more you're able to earn as much as you can, and the more you're able to keep as much of that income as you can and invest it and see it go to work for you, the better for you. The more likely you're able to then create as many options as you can for your future. You're probably thinking to yourself, well, Ken, how do you earn as much as you can in your youth? Well, I'll tell you how. One way you can do it. Many people who work in various jobs go into those jobs thinking to themselves they're going to be leaving at some point, right? I was speaking to my brother-in-law a few weeks ago, and I was saying to him, look, let's be real, right? With jobs, right? There is a date you start a job, and there's a guaranteed date that you're going to leave, right? And on that date, you will either jump or you get pushed. It will happen at some time in the future. So given you started at a particular date, and given you're going to leave, guaranteed, 100%, you're going to leave that job, why are you not maxing out everything you can get from your employer? Whether it's them matching your pensions, get every penny you can, whether it's them offering you further education, whether it's a master's or an MBA, why aren't you getting it? Whether it's them offering you other forms of professional development, why aren't you maxing it out? And let's not forget, when you're young anyway, you have the most dynamic energy in your youth. You're far more likely, the momentum you have in your youth is far more than you will have in much later years. So in your early years, my biggest advice would be, do everything you can, particularly before kids arrive. We're going to be talking about kids. Before kids arrive, do everything you can to earn as much as you can and keep as much of that money as you can. Invested and working, letting money work and money over time. The third thing I wish I knew when I was 20 is that the more you jump, the more you earn. Okay? Now, this doesn't happen with every scenario. But in my personal experience, I know for certain that the people who take the leap with their careers, the people who say, "Do you know what? I've been in this job for 3 years. I kind of think I've had it. And like, not being funny, I'm not growing anymore if I'm being really honest with myself. And this job's not really paying me what I think I'm worth." Okay? The people who make that assessment and decide that I've had enough in this place and I believe there is some other place I could be paying me way more than I'm earning right now are the people who end up being better off time and time again. I know that because I did that. I left jobs. I moved on. Like, I always saw the grass as greener. Now, it isn't always the case for everybody, but that's because, like, I thought I had the skills. I thought I could get a better job, and I did it, and it worked. And I know other people who've done it, and it's consistently worked for them. And then I've known other people who haven't done it. They've stayed in their jobs, and they've stayed loyal in their jobs. And let's not forget, being absolutely clear, and in fact, I should say this as upfront as I can, make no mistake in ever believing that your employer or your colleagues care about you. That's the fact. They do not. This is the reality of it. And if you want to test me on this, if you want to test me and test the hypothesis that I'm putting out that your employer does not care about you, if you want to test me on that, try slacking in your job for just 1 week and see what happens. Or even try slacking for a whole month. Imagine just like, try and be laid back for a month and see what happens in your day job. What happens is that you end up in disciplinary. Okay, so I've come to realize, and it might sound a bit harsh, but it's the truth. Not many people will tell you, but I'll tell you up front. I got nothing to lose. I'll tell you straight away. I'll tell you that the vast majority of employers are really about the transaction. What they care about is, here's your employment contract. You abide by what it says on the employment contract. If you do that, we'll pay you a salary. If you meet these goals, we'll pay you a bonus if you're lucky. If you do this, we might give you an inflationary increase if we want to give you one. Okay? So what that means, since you've now realized that the vast majority of employees, in fact, I'd say all of them, don't really care about you. You're not buddies. What they're interested in is keeping the contract in place. Okay? Because you're now aware of that, you should be thinking about number one. That's what I would be doing if I was in your shoes, which is, I'm working in this place, I'm going to put all my effort in, I'm going to work really, really smartly, I'm going to do everything I can, tick all the boxes, but I'm also going to be taking everything I can. And once I've taken everything I can, I'm built up my thing, get my experience, I know that I will ultimately move on at some point. And if I'm smart about it, I will take the leap, probably every 3 years. Every 3 years, particularly if you're young. If you're getting a bit older, but particularly if you're young, I'd say every 3 years is the optimal time for you to make that move. And you find that you will move up a lot quicker in earnings relative to your peers because you realize that really and truly, every 5 to 10 years anyway, you're going to be doing something entirely different. So why not, if we're being real with ourselves, take the leap to something more challenging, something more interesting, something better paying every 3 years. The full thing I wish I knew when I was 20 was that it's not about how talented or how experienced you are, although really and truly those things, they do count, but it's not really about that, but more about how you use what you've got. Okay? Now, I tell you why I say this. I know people who are like way smarter than I am. Way smarter. Like, they're so super, super, super smart, right? But when you look at kind of outcomes, not much has happened. A lot of those people just subscribe to just like showing up to their desks and doing what they are told. But I'll tell you right now, if you could take away 1 point from today's video, let it be this 1 point. And this is the point. Let no one ever tell you what you can do and what you can't do with your abilities, your talents. If I had listened to the people, the people who were saying to me, Oh, this thing you're doing with the humble penny, like this tiny thing is such a distraction. Why are you even wasting time talking about this thing called humble penny? Why are you even wasting all your effort? If I'd listened to those people, I wouldn't even be where we are today. I wouldn't even come anywhere near where we are. I had to believe in our own vision for what the future looked like. And in your case, it's really your own belief in what your future vision looks like that matters. Not what anyone else says. Not even what your employer, your boss. Take your boss right now. Not what he or she says actually matters at all when it comes to the future life that you want for yourself. So my point here is simple. Forget about not feeling like you're smart enough or that you're experienced enough or that you haven't got enough talent. The key is, what can you do with what you've got at the moment? What else can you do with it outside of the current, call it career or job or whatever you've got, in order for you to achieve the goals that you ultimately want out of your life? If your goals are that you want to become financially independent, for example, how else can you play that game with the abilities you've got, with whatever it is you've got, the connections, the networks, the skills you've got? How else can you play that game such that you can get to that outcome a lot quicker, a lot less conventionally than most other people might ordinarily go about doing it? Use what you've got right now to begin taking various leaps, various risks, obviously calculated risks in your life as early as you can, because it gets harder over time. Begin right now, because I'm telling you, if there's one thing we've learned over the last, call it 12 to 18 months with what's happened with the pandemic, we are on our own when it comes to our current and future earnings and when it comes to creating the sort of lives that we truly want for ourselves. So begin today. Start taking leaps, start taking risks, and you're not just depending on one job or one possibility in order to achieve some of your biggest life goals. And number 5 is that every experience you've had up to this moment is not wasted and ultimately prepares you for a better place ahead. Okay, this is a mindset point. When I think about my journey personally, I've made videos about some of my worst jobs ever. In fact, I'll link to that video below and above for you guys to check out. Cleaning jobs, or when I worked in a factory, or when I worked making sandwiches, or when I worked as a waiter. All these various jobs all mattered and were necessary for building the character and sort of individual that I've found myself become over time. And the things I'm doing right now, the things I'm even doing this very moment, are building me up for the type of person that I will become in the future when it comes to the sort of work I do and why I choose to do them. So I say that to really encourage you. If you're someone who at the moment feels that you are in a place in your life where you are perhaps not in your ideal job or your ideal career and work just feels really rubbish and like you don't feel like you are in a really good place, I say that to say that, one day when you look back, you will see that there is something that you would have learned from that particular experience. It might be that you are learning at the very moment the things that you do not want out of a career. The sort of work you don't want to do might be the lesson that you are learning from that particular point in your life. You are one step away from something better, okay? And I've always seen that, when I look back to all the jobs I've had so far, I've never really done a job that's worse than where I'd come from. I've always found that the next thing I moved on to was something that gave me more fulfillment in my life, better choices. They were not perfect by any means, but I always found that I had always grown as a result of the compounding effect of the various things I'd learned in previous jobs before. All right, so this is a bonus point. Having kids changes your why for working, okay? Now, I'm speaking to the people who, I don't know, some of us say, I'm going to do my work, I'm going to work in an area I'm really passionate about, or I'm going to work in, I'm going to work in this sector because I feel like I'm adding so much value and blah, blah, blah. But, nothing wrong with all that. But I've noticed personally, for me, that as soon as the kids arrived, boy, as soon as those bills started to spike up, my core priorities changed. The priorities were really about how do we make the peace? How do we make that money so that I can pay my bills? So I say all that to say, if you are at the moment in your 20s, this obviously applies if you haven't had kids and so on, your impression about what the future career outlook looks like would change radically the moment your life starts to change. If you have a life partner, if you start to have kids introduced to your life, if you start to have, sudden lifestyle expenses, wanting a bigger house, perhaps wanting to educate your kids in a different way, buying a bigger car, going on family holidays, all of that changes and drives the trajectory of your future career, okay? This again speaks to my earlier point of trying as much as you can to make as much money as you can as early as you can in your career, because honestly, that initial build-up, that initial momentum will help you when life gets much harder later on and having even more choices career-wise in the future because of the optionality you have around choosing where you want to work, how you want to work, and who you want to work for example. Guys, I really hope you've enjoyed today's video on the things I wish I knew about choosing a career when I was 20. There's so much to talk about in this particular topic, okay? But I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. Jump in and let me know, what do you wish you knew about your future career when you were 20? Jump in the comments and let me know, okay? Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you really enjoyed this video. If you'd love for me to create more videos like this one, I'd really appreciate it, because every subscription really helps as our channel grows and we reach more people and have even more impact through this channel. Thank you so much for watching today's video, guys, and as ever, in all things, be thankful and seek joy. Take care and bye for now.